Oh, thank you.
I gotta say hi. You look great. My goodness. What wonderful. How's Liz doing? How's Liz doing? Good. Tell her I said hello.
Me too. Let me tell you.
I have not seen my daughter.
Me too. Oh yeah.
I had to get it. Make sure I got it good. Did you tell him? Oh, I did. I'll tell him.
All right, if I could. All right, if everybody can take their seats, we're going to get started in a minute or so. I can't hear you. So much for a sound check, huh? How's that? Better? Too loud?
Better. No, it's better.
All right. Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Mac McCowan, and I'd like to welcome all of you in attendance to our forums this evening, and those of you watching via live stream on Facebook. For those of you that are watching live on Facebook right now, the 35 unified school districts that make up District 1 that these two gentlemen are vying for, I just want you to know that this event has been planned and is being executed just by a bunch of ordinary ragtag citizens like myself that truly cherish and unabashedly love our God-given inalienable rights and the freedoms enshrined in our founding documents. We're not a 501c3 organization. We're just patriots that love God and our country. And we want what's best for it. And we thank both of these gentlemen for showing up tonight to give us the best opportunity to vote for who we think will lead our kids to where they need to be. On an administrative note, the restrooms are through these double doors to my left and down the hall to the right, and your emergency exits are immediately to your rear. At our last event, we had some hecklers that kind of disrupted our operation a little bit and made it hard to hear our panel members. I don't expect that at all this evening, but I just wanted to tell you if that would happen, don't be surprised if myself or another group member doesn't come and ask you to check your behavior or ask you to leave. Because all we want this evening is to hear what these two gentlemen platform is so we can make an informed vote on November 8th. Now, I also want to thank Pastor Efta and the Church of the Open Door for hosting our event free of charge. And although they have not asked for anything in return for allowing us to host our event here, we're going to have a free will offering on the table as you exit tonight if you'd like to contribute something that will help towards utilities or their general fund. Please give our candidates a round of applause for making themselves available to the communities they would like to serve. Their attendance affords our communities the opportunity to make a more informed decision about who we want to elect to conduct the business of our schools in all 35 districts, unified school districts in District 1. So thank you, gentlemen. Do we have any other elected officials in the audience this evening? If so, please stand so we can recognize you. Representative French, Terry Lewis, Mashburn, Vanessa, and Amy Covey. Thank you for your service. Thank you. And Commissioner Ed Mingula. Thank you, sir. All right, we're going to start this evening with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you please rise and recite the pledge with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now, Elder Paul Bowling from the Church of the Open Door is going to give the invocation for our event.
Shall we pray? Father God, it's been nearly 250 years since you allowed this country to come into existence by your sovereign will. And since then, generations away from that, we find ourselves more divided than we are united, more contentious than ever before. And it seems like every election going forward is more important than the next, as each side claims to have the right path to go. But Lord, I think it comes more down to the fact that we have left your guidance for our nation. We have not adhered to your word, nor have we accepted you as our God. There's enmity now among us as a nation. Hard to come together civilly. And Lord, we need desperately to come back to where we establish this nation upon your principles and find our peace in that. And so, Lord, as we debate this evening, I pray that we do so without rancor, but simply over the issues. Each side has their own way of determining the path that we should go, but very divergent. Lord, I pray that they do so with clarity and without rancor, that we might make our own minds up by the small numbers of people that are here this evening is also another indication of our lost nation, because we no longer take responsibility for those who would lead us, but simply mark on the ballot because they have a D or an R behind their name. And so, Lord, I pray that as a country, from neighborhood to neighborhood, that we would indeed bow down to you again, that we would learn of your ways and accept you for who you are. And then all these things will come into line. So my prayer this evening, Lord, is that through this election, that healing might take place and not more discord. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, now we're going to get this thing started. I'm going to turn it over to our moderator and valued team member, Mr. John G. McBurney.
Thank you very much. Just a couple of notes here before we get started. First of all, the order of program today will be an introduction by our candidates for District 1 of the Kansas State School Board. They will introduce themselves and present their opening statement, after which I will begin asking them questions from the We the People of Leavenworth County Committee. Somewhere around 6:45, we'll switch over to your questions, and that's where these pieces of paper come into play. If you would like to ask the candidates a question, please get one of these pieces of paper or use your own, that's fine, and give them to either Mac or one of the other committee representatives. Thank you, and they'll get them to me. A couple of rules on the questions. Number one, we only ask questions that are appropriate for both candidates. We do not ask single candidate questions. Second is, it must be socially appropriate. We're not going to ask a question concerning any personal items, that kind of thing. Now, if we do get questions that are pointed to one candidate, we will forward those questions to that candidate and allow them to answer it in their own medium, whether it's their own social media or however they choose to do that. Secondly, I hope we have more questions than we can ask during our allotted time. And if we do, those questions will be sent to the candidates and they will submit answers back to us, the We the People Committee, and we will post those answers on our social media site. So you won't be missing out if your question is not answered here at the program tonight. The program is being live streamed on our social media site and will be available. Recording will be available of these events tonight on our social media site for as long as you want to be able to view it. We encourage you to share that with friends. We the People of Leavenworth County, as Max said, is an organization of amateurs. Our job, our mission, our purpose is to help everyone know more about the candidates that they have the opportunity to vote for. We also are encouraging people to vote. Please help us. Encourage those around you to vote. And most importantly, vote intelligently. Vote knowing what the candidates stand for. We do not endorse any candidate. The only position that we endorse as a group is freedom. With that, we will begin. Mr. Zach, would you start with your introduction, please?
In case you don't know me, I'm Danny Zach, and I've lived in Leavenworth 72 years. Microphone. And what got me started is we will not be silent. That's what got me, right?
Don't have it, it makes it easier.
Okay. Really? Turn. Can you hear me? No. Okay. Are you going to start me over? Or? 10-4. Hello. 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 You can hear me, can't you?
Yes.
You hear me just fine? And everybody
You need
hear
that
me?
for the live stream.
So the reason I started running for school board is we will not be silenced. That's what got me started. And I really care about the kids of Kansas. And that's the most important thing that we got going for us, is the kids of Kansas. I've been in Leavenworth 72 years, married to the best woman ever for 52 years, Grandma Dinah and great-grandma Dinah. And two sons went through Leavenworth school system, 3 grandkids went through Leavenworth school system. We have 2 great-grandkids in the Lansing School District. I was on the school board for 16 years, so I have a little knowledge of what goes on in the school board. I also ran a business for 30 years, so I know a little bit about free enterprise. And I've been really concerned because a new study that just came out on October 12th says that we are 21% proficient in English language. That's 79% not proficient. And we are only 20% proficient in math. That's 80% not proficient. That came out on October 12th, Kansas Policy Institute. So it's a little crazy, but just think about this. If you came into a business and only 20% of the time your oil change was proficient, would that business still be around? I think the answer is, I don't think so. So we need to change what's going on and hold people accountable. We need transparency in our Kansas State School Board. It's really important. And hopefully we'll get your vote and be ready to do a good job for you all, because at the end of the day, 2 + 2 still equals 4. Thank you.
Mr. Howard.
Good evening, I'm Jeff Howard, so I'm going to remain sitting. I'm broken, and it's difficult for me to get up and move around. I'm not going to argue Mr. Zech's data and his figures here. For starters, anyone can put out any kind of figures that he wants. You're all here because you were interested and concerned about education. So I challenge you to educate yourself on what is the true figures. You're going to hear one set of data about low graduation rates and high dropout rates. Another set of data about high graduation rates, low dropout rates. Which do you believe? It's hard to tell. There's an old saying in politics. I know this saying because I invented it myself this week. It says, listen once, verify twice. Trust yourselves. You want to know what's the truth about proficiency in schools? Call the schools. Call Baser, Lansing, Leavenworth, Pleasant Ridge. Ask them what the graduation and dropout rates are. Verify once. Verify twice. Go to the Kansas Board of Education website. There's a tab there labeled Data Central. Click on it. You will see all the data for schools across Kansas. It's correlated in 5-year increments. So you're not going to see today's data. You're going to see increments up through 2021. See what the real data is. Verify twice. Trust yourselves, not the politicians. I'm an old Marine. I'm retired from 2 careers, 1 military, 1 civil service. Between the two, I've got about 25 years experience as a teacher, as an instructor. I've taught one-on-one, small groups, classroom, and auditorium size. Now, it's not public education. I'll tell you that right up front. But teaching itself is an art. It's a skill that's learned and nurtured. I understand that art. I understand the needs of the teachers, the education system. If you try to play stump the band with me on public education, you may win, because I don't know all the answers on public education. But I do have a desire and a promise that I will learn. I have been attending every Board of Education meeting in Topeka since I filed the run. Every single one. Learning the system, listening to what the problems are, listening to the people, networking, so that upon election, I can walk right in and at least have a basic knowledge of what's going on. It's been quite lonely there in Topeka, because I've been the only candidate attending all the meetings there. Mr. Zeck mentions his business expertise. 30 years as a businessman. He wants to manage hundreds of millions of dollars in education. He didn't mention that he was bankrupt twice doing that. Hundreds of millions of dollars of your money. I challenge you when you go to the polls to decide which of the 2 candidates here truly is here for the kids and wants a desire to support education, and which is here for himself and for the party. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hacker. All right, let's begin the questions. Hermetically sealed. First question. What correlation do you see between increasing per student spending and the achievement of those students? We'll start with Mr. Howard.
Education costs money. The students need equipment. They need training. You can't teach students anymore on a slide rule in a computerized world. Computers cost money. You go into classrooms, there are no more chalkboards. Everything is automated. It costs money. Cost per student is rising. Cost for security in the schools per student is rising. We want to protect our students. If we want to teach them with the most modern of equipment and prepare them for success in the world upon graduation, the cost is going to rise. STEM training, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, computer training, it costs money. This is not 1952, it's 2022. The world has changed, the requirements per student have changed, the cost per student has changed.
Thank you very much. Mr. Zeck?
Could you repeat the question?
Yes, sir. What correlation do you see between increasing per student spending and the achievement of those students?
Well, from my perspective, we've increased spending 100% in the last 10 years. We spent $16,000, over $16,000 per student, and yet, according to my stats from the Kansas Policy Institute, we only get 21% proficiency in English. So are we, in business, are we getting a bang for our buck? I don't think so. And we're asking teachers to teach all kind of extra stuff that isn't the core subject. Math, English. It's so important that we are proficient in those things for those children to go to the next level, whatever level they want. It could be somebody like me that was 323rd in his class or 323. But yet, that nobody told me I couldn't be successful. So we just need to look at things. How can we do this more efficiency and get better result? And by the way, we only went to Chapter 11 bankruptcy reorganization one time, and it's paid off 100%. Nobody lost any money. Thank you.
Next question. Please explain why you do or do not believe that parents have the ultimate authority regarding their children and the education of their children. Mr. Zach.
Absolutely, parents have the ultimate right. They have the inalienable right to do what they think is right for their kids. And they should have control 100% of the time over what their kids learn. And Kansas already has laws in place, and Supreme Court, there's federal laws and Supreme Court decision that shows that parents do have their rights for their kids. And there's the school board also should have, the local school board should also have more control. The state school board shouldn't be mandating, the federal shouldn't be mandating, because each school district is different. Of the 35 school districts, Leavenworth is completely different than what they do in Seneca. I mean, so why wouldn't the local schools have all this stuff from the state that they can draw from, but maybe they don't want to use some of the curriculum and stuff that the schools have? And so if we will get more efficiency, if we can get the teachers back to basics.
Thank you, Mr. Zach. Mr. Howard, the question is, please explain why you do or do not believe that parents have the ultimate authority regarding their children and the education of their children.
First, I request that Mr. Zach be required to remain seated and not march around parading in front of the audience.
That is his choice.
Yes. This is a forum, sir, not a parade.
Just answer the question.
Answer the question.
I'm going to stand up.
The option was yours.
Americans with Disabilities have reasonable accommodations.
What a joke.
Okay, come on.
Equal presentation, sir.
You walked in here, you can stand up.
Please. Please. Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, sir. First of all, parents have an inalienable right to be concerned with their children's education and to participate in providing information on their children's education. They are not educators. They do not have an inalienable right to dictate how their children are educated. The fact that they went to school and had teachers does not make them a teacher any more than the fact they've flown in an airplane makes them a pilot. Teachers are qualified. They go to school, they are qualified, they are experienced, they have earned the right to teach. Parents have the right to participate in that teaching. They have a joint responsibility to ensure the success of their children, not to dictate. One parent should not be all to dictate to all schools and all parents on how the children are taught.
Thank you, Mr. Howards. Next question for you, Mr. Howards, to start. What is the biggest need for change within our public education system in Kansas?
Respect for the teachers and funding. The teachers are overburdened with requirements placed on them, placed by parents. Parents demanding on the teachers, and that effect is causing a decline in the number of teachers that we have in the schools, therefore overburdening the teachers who remain. And it begins snowballing. As one teacher is overwhelmed, they quit. The younger teachers are saying this is not what we signed up for. The older teachers are retiring. We are short on teachers. It increases classroom size. It decreases the efficiency in the schools. We need to hire more teachers, increase salaries, and provide additional funding for the schools, especially in special education.
Thank you, Mr. Howards. Mr. Zach.
Repeat that one more time.
Yes, sir. What is the biggest need for change within our public education system in Kansas?
Okay, we need to go to more local control. I said that earlier, but that's really important for the school boards to be able to decide on things. As far as teachers are retiring all over the state because they don't want to teach things that, like SEL and CRT in their classroom. And so the problem is not that we have a shortage of teachers. The problem is that teachers are retiring. For instance, in Manhattan, there's a teacher that taught music, and they were requiring her to teach SEL in a music class for part of the class. So that's really important. I don't think we'll have a problem. We don't need more funding. We need to be more efficient with what we're doing. And we quite frankly, we need to audit the state school board and maybe all the schools and really see what efficiencies that we need to do. At least we would do that business anyway.
Next question. What steps would you take to combat inflation? Mr. Zach?
What does that have to do with schools?
Amen.
Submitted question.
Well, I'm a free enterprise person, so if they lower the taxes, 40% for the last 50 years of property taxes, I've been paying in personal and business. So lower taxes. I don't know what that has to do with schools. To me, it doesn't have anything to do with schools. I mean, we need to be on supply. I mean, we need to have oil production going so we don't have to depend on anybody else. I could go into a lot of things, but I don't think that has anything to do with education, inflation. I'm sorry.
Mr. Howard?
I'm surprised to say I agree 100% with Mr. Zek. The question has nothing to do with education. And that was going to be my response. That was going to be my response too. Inflation affects budget, which affects taxes, which affects funding for schools. If that's the pathway you're trying to go down with this question. But what have we on the Board of Education? Inflation is not in our rice bowl. We have to deal with the effects of inflation and the effects of the budget crunches and funding for the schools. But the Board of Education does not institute policies that affect inflation. We respond and react to the funding changes that affect funding for the schools and therefore affect education.
Thank you very much. Next question.
That's over my head.
What are your thoughts on the Department of Education and the National School Board Association? Mr. Howard?
The National School Board Association, I have responded to the Kansas Association of School Boards. I have not delved closely and in depth into the National School Board Association. I've interviewed with the Kansas Association of School Boards, and not on a national scale. I've worked with the Kansas National Education Association. I am their recommended and approved candidate, but I do not have a response as to at national level for the School Board Association. I've only dealt with state level.
Thank you very much. Mr. Zach?
Say that one more time.
Yes, sir. What are your thoughts on the Department of Education and the National School Board Association?
I might talk about the Department of Education. The federal Department of Education, they need to get out of our business. They need to get out of our business because the funding from the National Department of Education usually comes with mandates. And I got a problem with mandates. If they want to give the money to the local states and let the states do with them what they will, that's a whole different thing. But as far as the National Association of School Board, I don't have anything to say about them. I don't know anything about them. Don't want to know anything about them. I dealt with the KSSB when I was on the school board. I mean, 16 years. I mean, they always came in and did training and stuff. Retired teachers, retired administrators. I'm done.
Thank you very much. Next question. How can the Kansas State School Board effect an increase in students' college entrance test scores? Mr. Zach?
Well, we got to get back to proficiency in the classroom and stop get rid of all the other baloney that's in the classroom. You know, if you're a math teacher, we want to teach math the whole time. If you're an English teacher, we want to teach English. If it's a reading teacher, we want to teach English. If it's a science teacher, we want to teach science, the whole class. We don't want part of the class be under social emotional learning. Because right now, in order for the schools to be accredited, they have to teach social emotional learning in every class part of the day. Even in gym class, they want social and emotional learning.
Mr. Howard?
First, we need to get the name right. There is no Kansas School Board. It's the Kansas Board of Education. That is the position we are both running. Okay. School boards are at local level. Mr. Zeck has no college degree. He has not been into college. He has, I understand by his own bio, one year of college. I have 3 degrees. To enter into college, you have to take entrance exams. And they are not just a math college, not just a science college, not just an English college. It's across the board. The students have to qualify across the board and be knowledgeable in all subject areas. We can't just teach reading, writing, and arithmetic. The children, our students, your grandchildren, need to have a fully rounded education be a fully rounded member of society. You walk out there in society, and there is not just a person who deals only in math, or only in science, or only in English. Your everyday life deals in all these factors. And so the students need to have a fully rounded education if they are going to be successful in life after school, after college. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hopkins. Next question. How would you protect students from politically based mandates? Mr. Hopkins.
Politically based mandates. That's a pretty broad statement. Politically based mandates can cover just about anything. You talking in education, in society? What are you talking about?
Interpret it as you will.
Well, politically based mandates. In school, you have a curriculum. Some would say it is politically based. What they have to study. So many credits of English, so many credits of math, so many history, science. This is a politically based mandate. You may have, you can talk on 100 different subjects and say they're politically based mandates. This is a very broad and open-ended question.
Yes.
Political mandates. Social emotional learning. Political mandate from the Fed and to the state. They have to teach. There's no way around it. And believe me, they're teaching. And it has nothing to do with academic. It's all politically based. CRT is part of SEL. It's politically based. It has nothing to do with what's going on in the classroom. So kids can go out like me, who just could barely graduate from high school and go to work and become a business owner. Yeah, I'm a dummy. So, and I'll take that anytime you want to say you can call me again. I've been up and down, up and down, up and down in business, but we still made it and are better today. And thank God for Jesus Christ watching over me all the time.
Amen.
We do need to get the politics out of school and get rid of all this baloney. We need to get rid of all the baloney and teach the core subject so kids can be business owners, so kids can be presidents of college, so kids can get doctors. So, and if they want to just go to high school and wash cars and maybe be a business owner, that's okay. I think that's okay. That's what this country is founded on. Go do whatever you can do, and we need to get back to that.
Will you recommend or support mandatory influenza or COVID-19 vaccinations or masks in schools? Mr. Zach?
No. No mandates for COVID. And since we're going to do science-based, the science now shows that masks are ineffective.
Amen.
As far as, and that, here we go back to parents' choice. If you want to wear a mask and a full body suit, hey, that's fine. But don't mandate us or my children to do that. Same with vaccinations and flu shots and all that. I don't want to, if you want to get it. That's okay. But don't mandate us to do that. That's parents' choice with their kid. Parents' choice. They have the right to make that choice, not mandate that. That's a whole different level of stuff.
Mr. Howard?
How many of you have children or grandchildren in school? Did they have to provide a shot record? Measles, mumps, chickenpox. Was that mandated? Were they required to? When they went to play sports, were they required to have physicals? Were they required to have shots? Certain things are mandated for the health of the public. And you've put up with this for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. This is the status quo. Your children go to school, they get chickenpox, they get mumps, they get measles. So we've added COVID to the list. If you don't want it, keep your kids home. Yes, I support it. It's just that simple.
That's simple.
That's simple. Did you argue over chickenpox, measles, and mumps? Or did you get the mandatory required shots for your children? What is the difference? What is the difference? There is no difference.
Not experimental.
They're not experimental. I had polio. Most of you probably don't remember polio shots and polio sugar cubes. It was mandated, and we eliminated polio.
Well, we haven't eliminated COVID.
It keeps mutating because of the people who don't take the shots. We can argue this all day long, but the question was, do I support it? The answer is yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Howard. Next question. As an elected official, how do you intend on balancing the budget while honoring the wishes of the taxpayers whose money is used for the budget? Mr. Howard?
The legislature mandates the budget for education in Kansas. And that budget is signed by the governor. The Board of Education oversees managing that budget. The Board of Education does not control what the budget is or how that funds come down to the schools. They manage it afterwards in distribution to the schools and making sure the schools use it within the regulatory requirements. You need to understand there's two different things. But the Board of Education does not control taxes, does not mandate your property taxes or how much you're going to pay for school taxes. That's local level. The state taxes, local entities tax. The Board of Education does not tax and does not control the budget and the income that is brought in through the taxes. They manage what comes down from the legislature. Apples and oranges.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Mr. Zach?
Sometimes we agree. The legislature is in charge of funding the schools. That's all they're in charge of, funding the schools. They're not in charge of anything, and then the schools decide where the money's going to go. I'm sorry, we agree on this one. I want less control from state legislatures, from federal legislatures. I want more power for the school boards locally. That's where I'm at. I want to go back to the local school boards and let them decide what they need the money for.
All right, next question. Please define the term the establishment and explain why it is good or bad for we the people. Mr. Zach?
It all comes down to inflation.
Say that again.
Sure.
Again, it doesn't have that. I'm sorry, but that doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about. I don't think.
No, are we talking about this organization, We the People? Are we talking about We the People nationally? What are you talking about?
The people of Kansas.
Ask
That's pretty clear here. So please define the term the establishment and explain why it is good or bad for we the people.
If it was, I can explain it, but it's not about education, so I'm not going to go there.
I second the motion. The question is totally irrelevant in regards to this forum and the Board of Education candidates.
All right. How will you engage all 35 unified school districts in District 1 to facilitate improved student performance and achievement in those districts? Mr. Howard?
I've been on a listening tour across the district, listening to school superintendents. We just met with a dozen out in Ozaki. We're meeting with a half dozen more next week in Troy. The districts are all different. You've got rural districts, you've got suburban districts, you've got some like Piper, which includes inner city areas and districts. And Piper's a mixture. And that needs to be, what I'm hearing from the superintendents is that it needs to be understood by the Board of Education that there is a difference between the rural communities and the rural districts and the urban and suburban districts. And they should not be lumped together under one proposition, one regulatory action. There needs to be guidance put down from the Board of Education as to what success is. And there already is. Success is measured at certain levels, and there's Leavenworth was just honored at bronze level for certain levels of success, the Leavenworth elementary schools. But it must be understood that the different schools in different districts have different requirements. And so that makes it, guidance can be put out by the Board of Education, but it must be done with the understanding that districts are not all uniform.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Mr. Zach?
I've been on a listening tour too. Mine's a little different. I put over 8,100 miles on my truck since I started this, and I'm a little different. I'm not going to go listen to the establishment, which are the superintendents. I go out and listen to the parents and the people that are out there because I want to know them to tell me what's going on in education and let me know what the right things they think is for their kids. So that's where we're gonna find out. If you elect me to the State Board of Education, I plan on going to all 35 school districts and talking with the parents and the school board, because that's where we're gonna find out what we really need to do, change or keep in our school system.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We will now move into citizen questions. Since we've reached that time, the good news is we have plenty of citizen questions. So, picking one at random. Starting with you, Mr. Zeck. Do you support teachers discussing gender and sexuality with students in the classroom without parental input and permission?
No. We have two genders, male and female. That's where we're at. We don't need to be talking about them moving someplace else. That's an activist role if that particular teacher or administrator is talking to that kid about moving to a different sex. And, you know, we need to protect girls in bathrooms, in girls' sports, because in my mind, I think if somebody's transitioning, or they think they're transitioning, and they're in a girl's locker room, that might be a form of sexual harassment. You know, just a question that I have about that. You know, are we doing more harm to that girl because she has to change in front of a boy? And that has happened. I have from a parent, their daughter had to change, and the teacher wouldn't let them go change in the girls' bathroom because that's only used for girls to go to the bathroom. So it is happening already. If you're born as a boy, you're a boy. If you're born as a girl, you're a girl.
I agree that parents should be notified the subject is going to be discussed, but it needs to be discussed. As long as there's been gay people, bisexual people, transsexual people, people who, us, we, they, them. This is life. This is the life that the students are part of. They look around their classrooms, they see students who have different perspectives on their sexuality. They get out of the classrooms, they're in the hallways, they're in the community. This is life in the city. This is life. We need to prepare our students for this and discuss it, not hide from it, because it's out there. They need to know how to address this. Who do you get to discuss it? The teachers and the students. But I agree, the parents need to be notified this will be discussed. And then they have the option to opt out if they don't want to. The students have a need because this is part of their life and their community. In the military, we went through the same thing when they began integrating women into fields that were predominantly always historically men. And it took a while to transition to allow women to have full rights. It didn't happen overnight. And I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight in the schools either. And maybe on the Navy ships, they had to remodel ships. They have berthing for women. They have latrine facilities for women. The Army had the same thing. It took time to adapt to this. And it may take time for the school systems to adapt, but they need to adapt because this is part of life and the students need to be aware of it.
Thank you, Mr. Howes. Next question. What do you think about the Parents as Teachers program, and how well would you fund it? Mr. Howes.
There are programs, federal programs, that allow to assist retired military personnel, to assist other people who want to get their teaching certificates, teaching degrees. to do this. The average parent, I do not believe, can walk off the street to be a teacher. They can be teacher aides. They can work with the assistance of a skilled teacher. I do not have a teaching certificate, but I have 25 years experience teaching. And I've been offered a job teaching because of the shortage. Because of my experience levels and my own personal experience in life, I have qualifications that would benefit the schools. I do not agree with 18-year-olds coming off the street and going into classrooms, or just taking anybody off the street. Parents have a need to be involved and a need to assist, and that should be recognized, but with proper training and proper certification. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Mr. Zach?
Read that one more time.
Yes, sir. What do you think about the Parents as Teachers program, and how well would you fund it?
Parents and teachers are probably a pretty good deal because the experience that most parents have in life, but there would need to be some talk and some organization of what that's going to look like. Because just going and letting them teach, I'm not for that. I think there would have to be a group put together and look at how we can teach, have parents as teachers. It's pretty simple. We need to look at that because each one of us has different things he should teach. I know I don't have a college education, but I have 30 years of business experience, so maybe I could teach business. I don't know.
Do you believe you can represent constituents that are prohibited from attending town halls? Mr. Zach?
I guess I'd have to go out. I guess I'd have to go outside and talk to them if they couldn't come into a town hall. Because I want everybody. I want people that are against me. I want people that are for me to come into town hall. I don't want to ban anybody from town hall. Now, on the other side, they need to be respectful of what's going on and what the rules of the game are. So,
Mr. Howard?
Can you repeat that question again?
Yes, sir. Do you believe you can represent constituents that are prohibited from attending town halls?
The only reason I can think of someone being prohibited is for punitive or legal reasons.
You had me removed by the police because I'm a Republican. Stop lying.
Hey guys, if everyone wants to ask a question, you write it down, you put it in the basket, I take it up. This isn't a back and forth with the candidates. The candidates need to be able to answer the questions we submit. Go ahead, sir.
So unless it's punitive, and that person has exhibited repeatedly disruptive behavior, but it doesn't mean they can't be represented. It just means they can't be present. They have an equal right to be represented, and that's different from punitively being removed or being, a restraining order or something to that effect. That has nothing to do with representing them. And it's two, again, apples and oranges.
Thank you. All right, next question. Do you believe that our schools are underfunded? Why or why not? Mr. Howard?
The legislature, again, controls the funding. We've both been on listening tours, and the state Supreme Court directed in, I believe it was 2019, that special education be funded at 92%, I believe it was. please correct me if I'm wrong, I've been wrong before, but what I'm hearing from most of the superintendents, they're being funded at 68%, 70%. And they're therefore having to take funds from other funding areas to make up the loss in special ed. And they are underfunded, and if we're going to prioritize our children as being our first priority, which it should be, then we need to look at where our money's going and how. And it's not, again, it's not the Board of Education allocating the funds, it's the legislature allocating the funds to the Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Mr. Zach?
Now we're going to go back to accountability. I think we're spending plenty of money, but it seems like the Board of Education never talks about the grades, what's going on with the grade, the proficiency levels and everything. So I think we need to audit what the Kansas Department of Education is doing and where are they spending their money. Are they spending $28 million on a project that tell us that we're racist? Yeah, they are. It's that thick. I think it's 193. I better not quote that because they'll say I don't know what I'm talking about. But I think we need to analyze what's going on, how we're spending our money. I mean, that's what we do in business. God, if it's costing a bunch of money and we're not getting anything for our money, we're gonna do an audit and maybe change the way we're doing things and look at the efficiencies that are there. And maybe we need to completely change the system. I don't know without going in and looking at all the weeds that are in there.
Thank you. Social emotional learning is a graduation requirement in Kansas. Depending on the particular social emotional learning curriculum, it seems like it is a vehicle for ideological agendas. How will you address this concern? Mr. Zach?
I don't think social emotional learning should be taught in schools, period. It takes up too much part of the day where the kid isn't focused on the core subjects that they need to be, and we wonder why our proficiency level is low. Well, because they're asking all these crazy questions. If you want to see me over at that table afterwards, I have the whole thing on social emotional learning. I have the surveys that they force the second graders to fill out, and then there's other surveys from the 6th through the 12th grade that they fill out. Has nothing to do with education. It's all how are you feeling today? And it's on the computer. And it's even asked, one of the other questions is, has your parents drink alcohol? And how many drinks do they drink per day? I mean, it's crazy. The questions, it has nothing to do with education. Have you ever thought about suicide? That's an optional one they have. Have you ever thought about suicide? And another one is, how many times have you thought about suicide? If you answer yes. Are you kidding me? Another one is, plan your funeral. I got all that, but I don't want to bring it out now, but I have all that. That's actually in the curriculum. And by the way, okay.
Mr. Howard?
The news this week, a 15-year-old in Raleigh, North Carolina killed 5 people, went on a shooting spree. Why? Because he was acting out. He had no other way to express his emotions, his conflict. Social emotional learning addresses these issues, and it's incremental over the grades. It's not all one grade. It's an incremental program. And it helps the children learn to handle their emotions, to handle conflict, so that when this type of conflict arises, they know how to handle it. They don't go out and shoot up the neighborhood. They find alternate means of release or talking. Communication. Communication is key to everything. They have to learn how to communicate what their problems are and not shoot up somebody because of it. And in today's world, it's happening over and over and over again. You all watch the same news I do. You see all the shootings in the schools. It's the kids shooting up their classmates. Whether they're graduates or not, they're going back to the schools and shooting up classmates because they have no other way to address the conflict. And this social emotional learning program is to help them get through that problem. Now, we didn't have it. Look around you. Most of us, we didn't have that problem. There weren't school shootings in my day, but there are now. And kids need help.
Next question. What qualifies you to hold this position? Mr. Howard?
I care about children. I care about education. I care about teachers. I've got 25 years experience teaching, as I said, from one-on-one to small group to classrooms to auditoriums. From 17, 18-year-olds up to 45, 50-year-olds. Each one required a different method of teaching. I understand what teaching means. I understand what teachers are required to go through to get certified. Who they are, what they've done to get where they are. And that's the beginning of it. I've got children, I've got grandchildren. My grandchildren have gone through the school system here in Leavenworth. I have a dog in this fight too. And we have to take care of the children. You have to have a concern for the children to be concerned and want this job.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Mr. Zach?
I care about the kids. And I'm on a mission. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. I'm on a mission from God. Because God told me to do this, because I'm retired, have no problems. I was on the school board for 16 years, so I know a little bit how school boards work and how the departments work. I also have 30 years in business. Filed for bankruptcy, paid it all off 100%. So I've had some real highs and some real lows. But we didn't back off from doing anything. So I think I'm more of a common guy with the common people. And so I think I will do a great job. And I have a hard time saying good stuff about me on stuff like that. But I think I do a great job for you because I will listen. I will pay attention. You know, I have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So I will definitely listen to everybody. Even if you disagree with me, because someplace in there we can find common ground. And that's really important today. Thank you.
A matter of randomness. Do you support removing social emotional learning from Kansas standards? Mr. Zach?
Yes. Because teachers aren't parents. Let me say that again. Teachers aren't parents. It's the parent's responsibility to teach social, emotional learning and respect.
Amen.
It needs to go out. It needs to go out. It's a waste of money. I don't know what it costs. I haven't gone to looked in the budget to see actually what it costs to spend on social emotional learning. The one Leavenworth that I was lucky enough to sneak in there. So they want social emotional learning and music class. Are you kidding me? And gym class, they want social emotional learning. And once you see the survey, you'll probably understand what I'm talking about, why that just doesn't need to be there.
deja vu all over again. Do I want social emotional learning in the classrooms? Yes. Parents aren't teachers. I say again, parents aren't teachers. As simple as that. If parents were teachers, we wouldn't have a need to do this. If parents were teachers, we wouldn't have 15-year-olds shooting up classrooms. Did it happen? Yes. Has it happened repeatedly over and over again in the past weeks, months? Yes. Is there a problem? Yes. Does it need to be addressed? Yes. Simple as that.
Thank you, Mr. Howards. If you are born a girl, can you grow up to be a real man? Mr. Howards?
Yes. Why not? Okay. What determines a real man? Is it genetics? Is it body parts? Is it state of mind? Is it hormones? Is it actions? Is it the ability to stand up for what's right and do what's right? What determines a real man? God. Simple as that. I've stood beside female soldiers. I've stood beside female Marines. They were just as damn good as any man that I served with. Who says they couldn't do the job? Simple as that. What determines a, quote, real man? Open-ended question.
Mr. Zach?
Question.
Yes, sir.
Please.
If you are born a girl, can you grow up to be a real man?
No, but if that girl wants to transition when they're old enough to be a man, that's their choice when they're old enough. If they want to, I got to be quiet. If they want to be a man, have at it. But as far as teaching that in the schools and pushing them to be that, like in business. We never care if you're black, white, pink, yellow, gay, transgender, whatever. Can you come in and learn the job and do the job? We just didn't care. If you're born a girl, you're a girl. If you're born a boy, you're a boy. And if you want to transition to a girl when you get older, that's your choice. Have at it if you want to.
Last question for the evening. How would you try to stop critical race theory? Or do you approve it? Mr. Zach?
I don't approve of critical race theory. And the reason is because they're teaching what was bad with our country. We did have some bad things in our country. But also, the founding fathers knew that things needed to change, so they wrote the Constitution of the United States, where everybody has equal rights. It doesn't say anything in there about color. Now, have we had some bad past? Absolutely we have. But what's going on in the schools, and I have it right here. So in an 8th grade social studies class, a teacher was teaching how bad our founding fathers were. 4 videos, 2 billboards on the board, and everything there was about how bad our founding fathers were. So I don't think we need to embrace our founding fathers. It's okay to talk about the bad. But critical race theory needs to... Color, we keep trying to divide. People, we're all a mixed race. I'm a mixed race. You don't think I am, but I am. My grandparents were immigrants from Yugoslavia, and they came here legally. So I'm mixed. We need to get rid of that too. And it's part of SEL, so it's already in there.
Thank you, Mr. Zek. Mr. Howards?
Okay, my grandparents came from the Ukraine. All right, so we got that out. They were all immigrants. CRT has not, is not, will not be taught in the school system. That is the stand of the Board of Education. It always has been the stand. It is not taught. Teachers are not directed to teach it. It is not part of the curriculum. I'm not saying there is not a rogue teacher who goes off the wall. I can't speak for every teacher in every school district. I'm speaking for the Board of Education stance. I believe that there is no CRT, there is history. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. Local history, state history, national history, international history. Students need to know the good and the bad. They need to know about the Buffalo Soldiers, they need to know about the lynchings here in Leavenworth. Good and the bad. That's not to say it is CRT, it is history. As simple as that. Teachers are not directed to flavor history, they're directed to teach history. Students need to learn not just of history, but from history. That's the whole point of it, so you don't repeat history. But CRT, as defined by whoever thinks there is such a thing, is not being taught in Kansas schools. It is not part of the agenda, not part of the curriculum.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. It is time for the candidates to provide their closing statement. And we'll start with Mr. Zek. I'm sorry, I apologize, I messed up. Mr. Howard.
I did not. Mr. Zek's always said it.
Very good.
Go right ahead, sir.
Thank you.
Mine's pretty simple. November 8th is the school board election. It will be the last thing on your ballot. Do not let Kansas kids be last.
Mr. Howard?
First of all, Mr. Zek needs to learn the name of the job he's running for. It's Board of Education, not School Board. But I defer to you, sir. It's a common error, but I agree. When we go, and I'm assuming the same thing happens on the red side as on the blue side, the candidates at different forums brief in a pecking order. Governor, Lieutenant Governor, Attorney Generals, Secretary of State, the Senator candidates, the Congressional candidates, House candidates. The Board of Education is always the last one to brief. And all the candidate forums I've been to, I'm assuming it's something similar on your side. I haven't been to yours, sir. We're the guy at the bottom of the totem pole looking up at everyone else's feet. And yet, we are the ones who determine not just what's important for you today, but what's important for you, for your children, for tomorrow. And for your grandchildren. Because kindergartners today are getting computer training. And they're getting the education they need for later. Because the jobs they will hold when they graduate at 18 haven't even been invented yet. So we have to look forward and who's going to be the best candidate to prepare your children, your grandchildren, to be successful in the future. Thank you.
Give a round of applause to both candidates, please. Gentlemen, on behalf of the We the People of Leavenworth County Committee and the people here, thank you very much for being here and for expressing your viewpoints. I appreciate everyone's attendance here. If you are going to stick around for the Kansas House District 41 forum to start at 7:30, please do so. There's some refreshments over here. If you're going to leave at this time, please know that we appreciate very much your attendance and your participation, and we would appreciate very much if you would take time to vote and to encourage others to vote as well. We have a number of very good candidates on the ballot and opportunities to improve our society and our state. Thank you very much, and we'll talk with you in 15 minutes.